Hey everybody, Coach here. Hey, I have a very special treat for you today. I have been invited into a Garden of Eden, literally, and most importantly, a DIY Garden of Eden by a homeowner who is self-taught, and her wonderful husband have created this garden over the period of, what is it, Chris? 15 years?
Yeah, say almost 20.
Almost 20 years now. And you have to remember that this landscape that you're going to see, not only through this interview, but also in a couple other episodes, has been created from a grassy hillside. Literally. I mean, it's a little over a half acre, and they have maximized every single square inch of it. And then they decided to build a house on it too, and had to take parts and pieces out of it. But you're going to be very impressed. And the whole purpose behind this is to make sure and to emphasize that people can do it themselves. They really can. I'd like to take a couple minutes, and I want to introduce to you Mrs. Chris Olson from the Panhandle of Idaho, and she has done this practically, just her and her husband, all by themselves. They have beautiful, beautiful terraced boulder planting beds, perennials mixed with annuals. And now you're going to see a mature landscape. It obviously did not look this full when they first got done with it, but it's been an evolving project and a passion and a love that Chris has chased practically probably your whole adult life, huh?
Yeah, definitely.
So I would like to take a couple minutes. We're going to talk to Chris about how this came about and some really poignant questions that I want you to clue in on and listen to this expert, this self-taught expert, as she tells you about her landscape. Chris, thanks for having us in.
Wow, you're welcome.
I really appreciate it. It's been such a fantastic pleasure to meet you and your husband Jim, and enjoyed a couple evenings down here, and it's fantastic. We're here on our second visit. Maestro and I were able to come in here a few weeks ago, and things were just getting going because this particular season has been such a cool, wet spring. They haven't had any heat until now. It's coming in. And now it's really starting to make things pop. And you probably can't see it in the background, but you will definitely see it in the walkthrough later on.
Yeah.
So, like we started out, Chris, this is about 15 to 20 years old?
Yes, it is.
And tell us about how it came about you decided this was going to be your showpiece place.
Yeah.
What draws you to this?
Well, actually, we had a floating home across the lake. We came from Spokane every weekend. We lived in Spokane. And my husband loves to sail, which I don't. And I needed something to do on the weekend. You know, I'm a busybody, let's say. Yeah. So
constant
anyway,
in motion person.
Always in motion, you know. So my dream was always to have a huge garden. And I don't know why, but since I was a little kid, I just wanted to create a garden with paths and seating areas and ponds, and so I thought, well, maybe I can find a little lot somewhere and we can do that. So,
Now, your place that you guys had before this, when you mentioned Spokane, Washington, was it to this level, or was it?
No, it was just like in a housing development.
Oh, okay.
Housing development.
Okay.
And I had a nice big garden when we purchased the home. There was nothing there, and I said, you know what, maybe I can make it a little nicer. And there was no stopping me then once I started,
How many years did you perfect that place?
We lived there for 20 years, but I mean, it didn't take that long to perfect it because it was not that big. But
sure.
I had a pond there too, and lots of perennials, and I loved it,
So when you did this, did you and your husband actually draw something up, or is all of this out of your own creative vision?
No, it just all came out of my head, Once the lot was scraped and, just all the grasses were removed and the weeds, and then I actually saw how big the lot was and how steep.
I bet.
I said, oh boy, okay, let's start thinking, I think we might have to terrace it.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was my first thought. Terrace it, find somebody that can bring in big boulders and make maybe 3 terraces. That was my first thought. 3 terraces, and then let's start from there.
So the boulders that we see here, a lot of it was professionally placed to start with?
Yeah.
Under your guidance?
Yeah, and the person who actually placed them, he's not a landscape artist or anything. He's a local person who's just creative too, you know.
Okay.
And he does a lot of excavation work and so on and so forth. And he said, yeah, I can bring in big boulders and you just tell me what your vision is and I can work with you. And so when he brought him in with a big backhoe,
Yeah.
obviously, you know, I was standing there and he was like an artist. I mean, these big boulders, he would just turn them a little, put them a little, and put them down. He goes, good? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And then, you know, so.
And it is, you know,
Yeah.
when you're doing retaining walls and,
Yeah.
and terracing lots and stuff, there does become quite an art. And it's not necessarily masonry, but in a way
Yeah,
it is,
yeah.
on a much larger
Yeah.
individual pieces.
Yeah. Or you would say, oh, this rock doesn't really look that good there. Let me get the other one and put it there. I said, great, looks good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
so-
I compare what you guys have done here to a small project that's going on the other side of the township here.
Oh, yeah.
And you look at the rocks that they used and the way they've and
It's
just
not the
doesn't-
same, no.
It looks like it kind of got thrown
Yeah.
there rather than a little bit of
Yes.
creative
Yeah.
eye done to
Yeah.
it. But
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
top notch here.
Yeah.
I guess one of the things that I would certainly like to know, but in the creation of all of this, what do you think was your biggest challenge as this came about?
Well, I don't think there was really a challenge there. You know, I mean,
Nothing obviously probably in the design
No.
part because that's up here
no,
for
that's,
you.
yeah, all was
But what
up
about
there.
the physical part?
The
Or
physical part, yeah, well, maybe the irrigation for my husband because, you know, I think when you design the garden in your head, you know, and you start actually doing it, the first thing you really have to do is put your irrigation in because
Yes.
no plant will survive without the water.
That's right.
So, you know, so the main lines, we have 3 main lines coming down and then just put them in and then we can put in the drippers as we go
After that,
along.
as
Yeah,
you- as
yeah.
you placed your plant
yes,
materials, sure.
yeah. So
Um,
I think that was the biggest challenge: how to put them in and how far to go all the way around the perimeter. You know. And
Does any of the irrigation that you guys put in, does it service the pond at all?
no,
No,
Nothing,
it doesn't
no.
refill the pond. You don't have a fill valve or anything
No.
on that. So
No.
if that needs water from
I
evaporation,
put a hose
you
in there.
Put a hose in there. and
Yes,
fill it
yeah,
up.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Some people have automated
Oh no,
fill
no.
things, kind of
No,
like the
oh,
toilet float.
No, nope.
And just to let you guys know, the pond and waterfall is kind of in a state of flux right now. They're going to end up changing it's going to look totally different by the time they're all done. And that's good because it'll give us an opportunity maybe
Yeah.
later in the year
Yeah.
or next year to come back and take
Yeah,
a look at it.
yeah. I do have pictures of the waterfall and the pond from before. We just tore it up last week,
Yeah,
really.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, and then you can see how it looked. You know, it was beautiful, but there was a leak somewhere, and we really had to,
Had to jump on it.
yeah, had to jump on it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if you were to take a stroll through your garden, do you have a particular favorite part and then a part that you maybe would have done a little differently?
No, not really. I like every part because they're all different.
And
You know.
I notice where I get the feeling like when I'm walking through it that it's kind of a selection of vignettes as you
Yes,
you
yeah.
go through the boulder paths and the gravel path. You turn a corner and there's
And
a
there's-
whole nother view
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah.
And you turn another corner and you have a shady part. And then
Yeah.
and one of the things that's really impressive about Chris's garden is that it's a constant evolution of color. And one of the things that I'm going to focus on is I'm going to focus on the mixture of the perennials and also mixing those perennials with annuals. So you get a boost of color in certain areas that haven't come in perennial wise yet. And then when the perennials come in, the perennials and annuals really complement each other very, very well.
Yeah.
Chris, one of the things that I want to really impress upon the viewers, and that is you guys did this yourself. And you did this yourself over the course of time. Obviously, because initially this wasn't your primary residence, right? This was an
yeah.
empty lot. You were on the float house, or you were
Yeah.
living in Spokane, and you were just getting this thing going. So if you were to give advice to someone who wants to take on a landscape project themselves, you know, and maybe they have nothing but a grass lot to start off with, what might you share with somebody, a homeowner who isn't college educated, but you just have some skills, and your skills obviously have been very refined over the years. So what would you tell them?
I would say be prepared to put a lot of work into it.
Okay.
You know, if you really want to have a beautiful garden.
Have
and
it done right.
Yes, and it doesn't stop. It's a constant, process.
Yeah.
You can't just say, "Oh, I have a garden," and then it's done. No, there's work all the time. So you have to be willing to put a lot of elbow grease into it.
And I know, folks like yourself and Maestro and I, we come from a horticultural world, and we know how much work it takes to keep that at a certain level. What about someone who maybe has a dirt patch in the backyard and they don't want to do quite the level of expertise that you've done? How would you say they should go about approaching it?
Well, I think the first thing they should be doing, have a design in mind. You can't just say, I'm going to throw a bush here or a plant. You have to kind of know how you want it to come together, And then it has to, the first thing they should be doing, thinking about the water situation. Do I have water there? How am I going to water? Am I going to have a sprinkler? Or, and I think the most efficient way to do that, to water, is to have a drip system, because you are not wasting any water, and you can direct it to each plant, and, and I think
so
that's a good start.
Have a plan going into it,
yeah.
Just don't leap into it.
No.
And then think out some of the infrastructure,
Yeah.
especially the irrigation,
Yeah.
beforehand to get that done. That's
and if
very
you have a
good point.
small lot, you can actually, I think you should maybe draw something. I want a bush here, maybe here, and then see, and then take that plan and go out on the lot and say, maybe that isn't right,
Will that work?
Will that work?
Yeah,
I
there's
think.
nothing wrong with,
Yeah.
as long as it's on paper,
Yeah,
there's nothing wrong
Yeah.
with trial and error.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
throw that paper away.
Yeah.
You can do whatever and start over again.
Yeah.
That's like on the channel, I've often said, draw out a little plot plan of the area and then do 3 or 4 doodles of various ideas.
Yeah.
you know?
So I didn't do that here because once the terraces were in, I had a vision. I wanted a path with trees on the upper level,
Okay.
on the lower level. I wanted something different. In the middle, I wanted that, and I wanted seating areas everywhere where you can sit and view all the different areas.
Okay.
So I think
Good.
that was my goal, just to be sitting somewhere, which I never do, but
Yeah, no.
for some reason,
This woman,
I bet you.
this woman is in constant motion. What I've seen, I don't
Yeah.
know how she even sleeps at night. She's
do.
just constant
Yeah.
motion all the time.
Yeah, well, I just pass out, I guess.
Marathon
Yeah.
runner,
Yeah.
triathlete, backpacker, everything,
Yeah, so,
and
yeah.
expert gardener.
Yeah.
When you and Jim built the cottage here, what was the initial need for it, or why? What was the why behind this?
Yeah, that was in the beginning, when we just started to plant some trees and bushes and shrubs, and I said, you know what, there's really no place I can use a bathroom. I mean, there are no bushes, nothing, So I think we have to build a little place where we can have a bathroom.
A midway point
Yeah,
when you're out here.
yeah.
For,
And then my husband actually sat down and, designed that little cottage, and I said, you know what, I just don't want a bathroom. If you build something, we can make it too big. Just have a little kitchen in there or something so we can,
Okay.
have a microwave and wash and dishes and so forth,
so
And,
it's literally something that it's like a tiny house in a way.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe
in
you
a
can't
way.
take a shower and that kind of stuff.
No, you could, but I mean, we didn't need to,
Didn't need to
so
do
that
that.
wasn't the need. We had a sink in there in the bathroom, and then we have a kitchen part, with a little sink, and I have a little refrigerator, and, and a microwave, and lots of dishes.
What do you find is your primary use for it right now, after
Oh,
it's been in for a long time?
Yeah, what we do now, after we actually built the cottage, that deck was not there. We put that in maybe 10 years after, when we started the pond.
Okay.
I said, you know what, we have to have a deck so we can overlook the pond. I mean,
Yeah.
you have to be
Makes
sitting
sense.
here somehow,
It
know.
makes
And I
sense,
said,
yeah.
and then we can have people over. We can have like happy hours, wine tastings, lunches, whatever. And then you need a place for the dishes and
Yeah.
to wash up and just, you know.
You don't have to take it all the way back up to the top of the house. You
Yeah,
gotta-
we didn't have the house
least-
then.
yeah.
And the house was only built 2 years ago. So,
Oh,
yeah.
that's
So,
true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
So if you had it to do over again,
Mm-hmm.
considering where you and Jim are at in life right now and where you were when you started this, would you have done anything differently?
No, I'm really happy with it. You know, the only thing that really almost broke my heart is when we decided to build our summer home here.
Yeah.
And then I lost like a third of my garden, you know. So I was devastated when I came back from Arizona and I saw the first steps being built. I'm going, what happened here? Where's my garden? You know.
Now, was there any of the garden that did get sacrificed for the house?
Oh yeah,
Did
one
you-
third.
Did you incorporate it into part of the thing, or did everything just go in a dumpster?
Well, no, everything had to go because I had no place to put it.
Yeah,
you
everything
know.
was pretty full.
Yeah, everything was full, and you know, and the people who come in with a backhoe, they're not going to go, oh, here's a little plant. They just boom, you know,
Yeah,
everything goes.
cleaned everything
yeah,
out.
everything goes. So, yeah.
Now, out of all of this, with all your terracing that
Mm-hmm.
you've done, and a lot of soil got imported in here, how
Yeah.
many, if you were to guess, how many truckloads do you think came in here to backfill around that?
Well, at least 20 truckloads.
20 truckloads.
Yeah, at least because you know, the soil here was all clay.
Yeah.
And when they scraped it off, the next day it rained. I came over here and I just slid all the way down because
my.
the clay is all, it's just like
Gumbo,
glass, you know,
yeah.
yeah. So we knew we couldn't really plant anything in that soil, you know, and the terracing really helped because
I bet.
because we had to bring all the fill in, you know,
Yeah.
so that was good. And it was good soil, you know, I just didn't want sand or anything, so I said, hey, I want some
Good
good
topsoil.
topsoil, yeah.
Okay.
So we started in the bottom and worked
Was that
ourselves
something
up.
that you had somebody do for you? Or
Yeah, that was the same person.
The same guy that did the
yeah,
boulders.
did the boulders, and he
Cool.
has huge trucks. And I said, okay, Charlie, his name is Charlie.
Yeah.
He said, she goes, oh boy, you're gonna need another dirt. And I said, that's fine, just throw it in, you know.
And when you say truckloads, was it the double transfer truck type
Yeah,
of
I
thing?
mean those huge
Yes, the
trucks.
big ones.
Yeah. Mhm,
Good. How
yeah.
far away, were they locally sourced
Yeah,
for the
yes,
soil?
yeah,
So it's
mhm.
here.
Yeah, it's all
within the
local
county.
stuff. Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, he brought it in, and then you know once the terraces were built, then you have a better vision.
Oh,
then,
I bet.
then you can say, oh yeah, this is what I want, and I'm going to do this here and that here and there. So yeah.
So if you were to draw a circle around your property here,
Uh-huh.
how far afield have you gone to find all the plant material that is behind us here?
Well, actually 50, because we still lived in Spokane, so I went to all the nurseries in Spokane and brought it out here because we were out here anyway every
Yeah.
weekend. And then I went to Coeur d'Alene, which is 25 miles away, and
Okay.
yeah.
All right, so
And
it's
that's it.
relatively local stuff.
Yeah, it's all local.
Yeah.
Yeah, and couldn't plant anything that wasn't local because it wouldn't
Yeah,
grow
it
here.
wouldn't work too much.
It wouldn't work. Yeah.
I try through my designer contractor eye, I try to visualize this place compared to some of the other empty lots that are in your neighborhood, and I'm going, quite an undertaking.
Yeah.
You know, and what's so impressive about it is that you have not given up on it. As a matter of fact, I think you probably work more diligently now, probably, you know, keeping everything. And
Yeah.
that's one of the things I want to impress upon people is you don't have to do it to this level, but it's very inspirational to see what, you know, can be done.
Yeah.
You know, and can be done with basic understanding and a little bit of professional help, and look what the outcome is. Chris, I want to take
Yeah.
a few minutes and just say thanks. I really
Oh,
do. I
you're
want
welcome. Yeah.
to invite us in here to
Yeah.
show us what you've accomplished, and then to be able to sit down and talk to you has been just a great pleasure. And I've loved getting to know you and your husband Jim, and it's been fantastic.
Yeah.
It really has. So, hey, join us again when we're going to take a couple of walkthroughs here, and I'm going to show you some of the terracing, the boulder placements, irrigation, outdoor living spaces, and a top view from up on the upper deck of the house. The one thing you're going to see is you're going to see a lot of color coming in right now, but there's still so much that's
yeah.
still going to be popping the rest of this summer
Yeah.
and into the fall.
Yeah.
So it's great, but it's alive now as far as color, and you'll see quite a few things. All right, hey, we will catch up with you in just a few minutes on a walkthrough, and then next week as well. Hey, I'm Coach. To your landscape success, as always, I'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in. Bye for now.